If you're learning programming right now, you've probably wondered at some point, what if I'm learning the wrong thing? What if this framework dies? What if I picked the wrong language? What if I spent 6 months learning this and then realize I should have learned something completely different? I understand that fear. I've been coding professionally for over 14 years now, and I've had to learn, unlearn, and switch technologies more times than I can remember, really. And you know, AI wasn't even part of the equation when I was starting. So if you're learning today with new frameworks popping up everywhere and AI changing how we write code, I completely understand why choosing what to learn can feel impossible. But after going through this again and again throughout my career, I think beginners are often worried about the wrong kind of wasted time. Let me explain. At my first 2 companies, I used Bootstrap a lot. And I mean a lot. I knew it really well. I was comfortable with it. Then I joined my 3rd company. It was a startup, and I was surrounded by some seriously good developers who liked using newer technologies. And suddenly, I was pushed to use CSS Flexbox. I remember thinking, seriously, I finally got really good at this, and now I need to learn another way of doing it. Because once you get comfortable with something, starting something new feels expensive. And sometimes it even hurts your ego. You think about all these hours you already put in. And now, here comes another thing you apparently need to learn. But I tried it anyway. Worst case, I thought, I learned one more useful thing. So I sat down and gave Flexbox a proper try. And after a few focused hours, something surprised me. It started making sense much faster than I expected. And that's not because Flexbox was magically easy, but because I already understood CSS, I understood layouts, I knew what I was trying to achieve. I had broken enough things before to have some idea what to try when something wasn't working. And that was probably the first time I properly realized the new technology might start at lesson 1. You don't. Later, I moved from plain JavaScript and Laravel into React. Again, new technology, new things to learn. But a lot of what I already knew came with me. Then eventually, I got really comfortable with React and landed on a project using Angular. And this time I thought, okay, I learned React. Angular should be a piece of cake. Yeah, it was not a piece of cake. Apparently, learning one framework does not unlock every other framework like an achievement in a video game. There was still a learning curve, and I think that distinction is really important. Experience doesn't mean every new technology suddenly becomes easy. Experience doesn't remove the learning curve. It changes where you start on it. Because when you're learning your first programming language, it feels like the language itself is everything. If you're learning JavaScript, you think, I'm learning JavaScript. But that's only part of what's happening. You're also learning how programming actually works. How to break a big problem into smaller ones. How to look at an error and figure out why something is not working. How to search for a solution when you barely even know what to search for. And eventually, you start recognizing patterns you've seen before. That's why someone who has been programming for years can usually pick up another language much faster than they picked up the first one. The syntax changed for sure, but their brain didn't reset. And this is where I think beginners can actually waste a lot of time. Not by choosing a technology that might eventually become less popular, but by constantly reopening the decision. JavaScript or Python? Python or Java? React or Vue? Frontend or backend? Then somebody posts a video saying another language is exploding, and suddenly you're questioning everything again. You can spend months trying to make the perfect choice without spending enough time with any choice to actually become good. And I'm definitely not saying pick anything, it doesn't matter. It does matter. If the jobs you want regularly ask for a certain technology, obviously pay attention to that. Direction matters. What I don't think you need is certainty. Because nobody can guarantee that the framework you chose today will be the best possible choice 5 years from now. Nobody knows this. Technology changes. Frameworks come and go. AI is changing the way we work. You definitely cannot perfectly predict all of that before you begin. So instead of asking, have I picked the perfect programming language? I would ask something much simpler. Does what I'm learning make sense for what I want to do? Is there still useful stuff here for me to learn and build? And am I thinking about switching because I have a real reason or because I'm scared something else might be better? Because those are very different things. If there's a genuine reason to switch, then switch. You will learn the next thing. I've done it plenty of times. But if the only reason you're looking at another language is because somebody made you feel like the one you're learning is suddenly useless, maybe don't switch directions just yet. Stay with it long enough to actually learn it. Build something with it, see what it can actually do. Because the bigger risk isn't always spending 6 months learning the wrong thing. Sometimes it's spending those 6 months trying to choose. So if you're learning something right now and wondering whether you're wasting your time, ask yourself, is this helping me become a better developer today? If the answer is yes, then I would probably keep going. And if you're thinking about switching, tell me what you're thinking of switching from and to. Maybe I can help you figure out whether there's actually a good reason to move or whether you just need to stop second guessing it for a while. Because eventually you will learn another technology. That's unavoidable. That's part of being a developer. But when that happens, you won't be starting again from day one. And if your problem isn't what you should learn, but knowing when you've learned enough to move on, watch this video next. I break it down into 3 simple levels so you can tell whether you should keep learning or whether it's time to take the next step. Thanks for watching, you legends. I'm Pete, and I'll see you on the next one.